day. A month is much too much, or wouldn't you say? A second is too short, an eon too long. A week is just stupid, and so is this song. Ooh, everybody's got a half an hour. Haven't you got a half an hour? This bill only needs a half an hour. So come in and stay.
Live from Bangkok, Thailand, the video podcasting capital of the world, it's the Kirchenbauer Haffenhauer. I'm Bill Kirchenbauer, your host, along with Paul Brumbaugh. Our motto here is I talk to myself all the time anyway, so you might as well listen in. I was faking the sleeping thing.
Oh, well, thank goodness. I thought, wow, what's going on?
Yeah, that's our subject today. That's our subject. We're going to talk about sleep, something
Okay.
everybody does. I've been doing it all my life. I love sleeping. So we're going to talk about that. I've slept all over the world. I'd like to know how many hotels and motels I've been in. It's just probably thousands, probably thousands throughout my career of being everywhere. As my friend Gallagher used to say, when people say, "Where are you appearing next?" He goes, "I'm appearing everywhere, eventually." And I traveled the country and the world, and I've slept a lot. So let's talk about sleeping. I have, as I've gotten older, I used to sleep real good, no problem. Hit the pillow, go to sleep. And now when I hit about 69, 68 maybe, it got a little thin. And mostly because at one point I had to deal with a business partner who was a narcissist. And I don't throw that word around casually, as a lot of people do. So, oh, he's a narcissist. He's a narcissist. And I studied narcissism for quite a while, and I figured out that this was guy was a narcissist. And my friends, who I had three psychiatrist friends, and they told me he was a narcissist when I read off a list of what he did. So I got PTSD from this guy, which you can do. And at that point, I started having problems sleeping, and it's continued. It's continued forever. But I've traveled a lot, like I said, throughout the country and the world, and I have a very particular routine and situation with which I have to sleep in order to sleep. One thing I learned, let me take these off. I don't need them. I'm not reading anything. One thing I learned very early in my career was by sleeping in the hotels and motels is to drown out the excess noise, extraneous noise, maids. My friend George Miller used to say he stayed at a hotel that was called the Loud Maid Hotel. And that's very often what I was contending with. I would stay at a motel or a hotel, and most people they're there for a night and they pack up in the morning and they leave. So the maids, and they, aside from knocking on the door when it obviously has a "Do Not Disturb" sign on it, I would tip. Now what I do is I tip maids before, so they won't bother me. I say, here, this is not to do things. This is to not do things, which does not bother me. If I need something, I'll let you know. So I discovered white noise. My friend Jeff Altman, I used to hear about. I would hear rumors about Jeff when I first come to LA that he used to he sleeps with a hair dryer on, and he did. He used to sleep with it. And I thought, well, that's really strange. And then later on in life, I figured out what white noise was, and I figured, oh, that's what he's doing, and that's why babies fall asleep in cars and on planes. Well, maybe not always on planes, but that's why a lot of people sound. And if you don't know what white noise is, um, it's shh. If you remember old TV sets, when you turned to a channel that wasn't there, it was all snowy and everything, you get that shh, and that's what that is. That's white noise. And when I first got it, I actually had a machine that I would travel with. It was like a box about 8 inches by 8 inches, and had a speaker and a couple of knobs. You could turn up the loudness and change it from deep down to very high pitch. And they also have choices like waves. And I used to carry this thing around. I mean, if you looked at it, this is way back in the 70s. I'd carry it, I'd plug it in, and I've gotten now so that I can't sleep without it. I have to have white noise. But now it's gotten down to much more minimalist situation in that I use my iPhone or an old iPhone and a Bluetooth speaker. And I get the app. There's an app that you can get. Many of them are for free. And you just go to the app. And now they have all sorts of rainforests down by the ocean, water, horses climb, just too many actually. I like the solid shh, and that will usually work to drown it out, the maids and the noise and the banging and people having sex next door and stuff like that. So that was my first entry. Second thing I have to have is I have to have a breeze, and I know I know Bill Maher does the same thing because he was complaining about how he calls up hotels and asks for a fan, uh, and they can't seem to find one. And I always I have to have a hopefully a ceiling fan, but again, you can't hope for that all the time. So I have a traveling fan, a little USB. Used to have to plug things in. Now it's just USB, and I have to have some sort of breeze. I can't sleep in a just stagnant room full of dead air. I have to have a breeze, and I have to have air conditioning. And when I say air conditioning, I mean meat locker air conditioning. I like it cold, and I like it dark. I have to have blackout windows, or I have to have blackout screens. Um, Blackout curtains. Some hotels have them. Some of them don't. They have these little things they put over there, and they really don't stop the sun. I always watch people go into a especially on this show, the House Hunters, and people will walk into the bedroom and they go, "Oh, look at this lovely bedroom. It has so much natural lighting." Well, fuck natural lighting. I don't want natural lighting when I'm trying to sleep. I want it dark. So consequently, I have blackout curtains, and even during the day, it's not black, but it's pretty dark in my room. I think I'm part bear.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
sounds like you're in a cave.
yeah, that's what I like. And according to what I've read about sleeping, that's the way you're supposed to sleep. Cool. I like a cold room and a warm bed.
Right.
Uh, then I used to wear a mask. Uh, but that's kind of binds a little bit, and it was always the free ones you get on the airplane when you flew business or first class, and I would keep those with me. And lately, I've switched to a stocking cap that I pull over my head because now that I shave my head gets cold. I realized that the first night. I said, "Oh, it's awfully cold. Oh, I haven't got any hair in it." As little hair as I had over here, it did manage to keep my head warm. But now I can't. I put the stocking cap over my head, and then I figured out one day, oh, look at this. I can put it down over it, and now I have a built-in sleep mask, and I wear that. Then there's the pillows. I have. I probably have about 6 to 8 pillows on my bed. I like the long ones, the king size long ones. I have two that well, one I put along the back of the bed, lengthwise, a really long one, and then I have these other pillows, and I sleep kind of in a figure four situation, and then I have a pillow between my legs to keep a little one that I bought to keep my knees from knocking, and I sleep. Let's see, what else do I have? And then uh, a little hit of pot usually at night before I go to bed. That helps. And then I have the spray on. It's not melatonin. No, melatonin. I take a melatonin too. And then I take this other spray stuff. I forget what it is. It's something my wife got me. And I
Some
spray it in
kind of
my head.
aromatherapy kind of thing, or
No, it's a vitamin. It starts with an M. That's why I confuse it with melatonin. But it's this spray I put on my head. And let's see, is that it? I guess that's it. Yeah. And that's what I have to have to sleep. So when I'm traveling, if I can't get all those things together, it gets to be a nightmare. I have my biggest enemy for me sleeping is my brain. I have a hard time stopping, and this goes back to the PTSD that I had. I think about stupid shit. I mean, just I think about things in the refrigerator. In fact, right now I'm thinking about something I need to eat in the refrigerator before it goes bad. I'll lay in bed and I'll think, and then I'll think of a joke. And I think, oh God, and then I'll have to turn on the light and go get a pad and write down the joke. And usually I can't understand it the next day when I read it. Um, but it's all these little things I have to do just to go to sleep. I keep thinking of things, of conversations I had, conversations I'm going to have, things I should have said, things I'm going to say. Uh, and God forbid I have to get up in the morning. I might as well stay up all night because my brain I can't turn my brain off. I can't turn my brain off.
I call that when the circus comes to town. Is when everybody turns off the TV, like when my wife turns off the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a hard time going to sleep because I don't have all my creature comforts or something's going on, and all of a sudden those thoughts start going.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is not uncommon. I hear a lot of people they worry about stuff. They worry about money. They worry about. I remember one time when I was pretty broke. I mean, I lay there and I worry about how am I going to pay this and how am I going to pay that, and people in your life, good and bad. I mean, like I said, I think about stuff in the refrigerator has to be eaten. I think about things that have to be done. I think, oh, and I can't turn my brain off. That's my biggest thing. And sometimes and now that I live here in Thailand, I have to stay up late, which I've always been a late night person anyway. I guess it's because I was a stand-up comedian, and I'm my funniest. I'm the funniest between about 8 and 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when I'm a night person. I don't like days, not days. I don't like mornings particularly. I would always wonder why. Look at morning traffic and just go, "Oh man, I'm glad I don't have to do that."
Mhm.
Oh, just getting up and getting in a car and then driving and driving to get to some place. And so that was one of the reasons I went into comedy is that I thought, hey, I can work at night, I can sleep all day. So one of my big objectives in life was to get up when I wanted, and pretty much I've achieved that. But there's still things you have to get up. Sometimes I have to get up early and go to immigration or have a doctor's appointment or something. And I just hate it. And flying the next day, I have to make flights like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a hard thing to do. I've had many. I used to be really good at flying on planes when they when planes used to be empty. Remember, sometimes you'd get on a plane and there weren't that many people on them. And what I would do is, I remember they used to have blankets and they used to have pillows. And one time I remember I had gotten three seats in a row, and I'd rather have three empty economy seats than one first class or business class, because there you can lay down and spread out and everything like. And one time I took a blanket that they had and I tied it into the trays that were up like this. I opened the trays and then shut them on the blanket like this and this. And then I draped it back over the seat things. to block out everything. And then I did it down there, and I was laying there sleeping, or not sleeping. I was trying to go to sleep. And I remember two stewardesses come by. They thought I was asleep, and one says to the other, "Well, I never saw that before." So I had credit, and when you're flying, I've always wondered people that have to either miss a plane or wait till the next day to get it because of the weather or whatever. People that sleep at the airport. I don't get that. I don't know that. Go get a room. There's always a hotel near an airport. Don't sleep in the airport. It's not good. People can bother you. They can steal shit from you. And what I really don't get is people that sleep in the airport and they'll sleep on the ground not parallel to the wall. So here's the wall. Instead of sleeping like this, they sleep like this. So their feet are sticking out into the walking area. And I just think, you're an idiot. Sleep parallel to the wall. But people can sleep just about anywhere. I think the longest I stayed up one time, I flew to Bangkok. And I always tell if you get people when they're going to come over here to catch a flight that arrives at night. Don't don't take a flight where you get here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because then what you have, because you're really tired and you're beat, and but what you have to do then is stay up, and so that if you're lucky, you can get a flight from Los Angeles that gets over here in about minimum 21 hours, because you always have to go somewhere else first and then fly here. And so it's a long flight, and you're up, and unless you're in business class or stuff, I I can sometimes fall asleep on a plane, and sometimes I can't. But I always tell people, get fly over here so you get here at night so you can go to your hotel room and then go to sleep. And then you'll want to get up for some reason. Your biological clock will want you to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you go, why am I awake at 6 o'clock in the morning? But it's better than having to stay up another 8 hours to go to bed at 8 or 10 o'clock at night, so that you can get in sync with everything. So it's best to fly. And I think one time I stayed up about 30 hours. And at that point, there's a point at which you kind of get a second wind, but it's a false second wind. And you just kind of, okay, 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 well, I'm kind of, I've seen people that have been stayed up for many hours, and I hear you can get hallucinations, and just go, it's not good for you to stay up too long. I had a friend of mine that used to do a lot of drugs, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And he told me that he stayed up for 3 days. And I said, 3 days? Yeah, he said night and day, night and day. And he was also a gambler. And he was working at casinos. He's actually a celebrity, but I'm not going to mention his name. Uh, and he stayed up for 3 days. And I just said, how can you do that? I mean, how can you do that? How long do you sleep when you do go to sleep? And he was, it's kind of a regular thing for him. And then he got sober and didn't do that anymore. But sleep is very important. Uh, I've slept on the ground. My first my first bed that I ever had when I went to Los Angeles was the old mattress that the guy that lived in the apartment before me had thrown out. I remember I lived on a street called Grismer Avenue in Burbank. If you live in Burbank, you know where it is. Um, but I pulled this mattress up, and for many years, I slept just on a mattress on the floor. After I got rid of that and moved to another place, I just bought a cheap mattress, and I slept on the floor, and it didn't really bother me. And then later on, when I got a house and stuff, I bought a frame. I had a brass frame once. I had my king size bed on, which is too big. I don't need a king size bed for just me. So it's it's something you have to do. I have a hard time going to sleep at night sometimes, and sometimes I knock right off. Now, when I take a nap in the afternoon, I feel like, which is not that often, but when I feel like I getting dozy in the afternoon, I'll go in and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go in and lay down for an hour. And I do, I'll go in and lay down and go right to sleep. Just go right to sleep. And time goes by like that. You think, oh, that's, set the alarm. You get, oh, that was a half an hour. It was like probably 10 minutes. But as you get older, I think your sleep patterns change. I had sleep apnea, actually. My wife told me years ago when we used to sleep together, which we don't anymore because uh, I snore. Uh, I used to really snore bad when I had sleep apnea, and she swears that I kick. I kick my feet. And when we had our son, then she would go sleep in his. I think everybody should have their own bedroom. It's not about sex or anything. I think people should have their own bedroom. So if you don't want to be by yourself, and plus my wife goes to bed early, she gets up early. I go to bed late. I get up late, and between the tossing, we just all we're going to do is annoy each other. So she has her room. She has all her shit in there. She has a big TV. I have my room. I have my big TV and my computer desk and all that. And she goes to bed when she wants. She shuts the door. She also uses white noise. I introduced her to that. And it's just important to be able to sleep. They say it extends your life to be able to get a good night's sleep. I don't know how much more going to extend. My dad always used to say, "You got plenty of time to sleep when you're dead." I thought, well, that's not really sleeping, Dad. That's called dead, and you don't really get pleasure out of it. That's really about all I have to say about sleeping. I I can sleep almost anywhere. Planes, ships. Oh, here's a little tip. If you ever get on a ship, try to if you're going to go on a cruise. Everybody was talking about cruises now. If you get on a cruise, try to get a room that's kind of towards the middle of the ship, because if you're on the front, you get this tilting thing, and it goes up and down. It hits the waves. It goes up and down, and you feel that. And if you're in the back, then you get the back part of it. Whereas if you're in the middle of the ship, you just kind of right here, and it stays kind of solid. You get a little bit, and also don't get don't get a bed that is parallel with the ship. In other words, your head heading towards where you're going. You want to get it across the way, so you get more of a rocking effect. A rocking effect, like you get more of a rocking effect when you're this way. But if you're parallel with the ship, you get the same thing like this. So I learned that on cruise ships, and they give you a little bit. I think they've improved the staterooms on a lot of cruise ships. I've seen videos down there. They actually give you a real sized bed. It's not these little tiny bunks. I remember when I was traveling in Europe. They have really small beds in Europe. I mean, was traveling by myself, and I would get a single room, and it was just a little tiny. It was smaller than a single bed, and I'm not a small guy, but I had a hard time rolling over. And and if you ordered a double bed, they didn't really give you a double bed. They just gave you two singles, and they push them together. So
which is never
I
comfortable for me, by the way.
no, there's a little big crack down the middle of the bed.
Right.
Uh, I remember water beds.
Oh yeah, I owned one of those.
Everybody owned one of those. Everybody owned a water bed. They were $79.95 or $195. They were. I had one that I bought with a wooden frame, and I split a house with a couple. I lived with a couple. They had their room and I had mine. I didn't. It turned out not to be good because it was 2 against 1. So every time there was a vote, I was the odd man out. But I had my own bedroom and I had a water bed, and I had a Doberman that I had gotten. His name
Oh,
was
good
Reefer.
combination.
Yeah, yeah. I had his name was Reefer because I that's what I paid for him. He was this guy upstairs. He had a female dog and she had some puppies, and he had like 6 of them, 7 of them. And I said, "Well, I'll take one. How much you want?" He goes, "Ah," I said, "I don't know. How about some pop?" And I said, "Okay." So I knew a guy. Went out. And I got like 2 ounces or something, uh, and I gave him the pot, and he gave me the dog. And when I was thinking about the name of the dog, I said, "I'll call him Reefer." So his name was Reefer.
Great little
Uh,
name.
yes, and I shouldn't have had him because I had to go to work, and I would put him in my bedroom to his own devices, and I would come up. And one day I came home, and he had attacked the water bed
Oh,
and put
geez.
a big hole in it, and there was water everywhere. It had drained, and I don't know how many gallons were in there, but I ruined this bedroom floor of this house we were renting, and then we moved out. Or
Oh,
at least I
geez.
moved out. So it was not good. I don't remember it being all that. It sounded like a good idea at the time, but water beds they slosh, and they're really cold. You got to have a heater kind of to heat the water. So I slept on that for a while. I've slept in futons, sleeping bags. One time I was visiting one of my cousins up in Michigan, and we decided he lived out in the country on a farm, and we were going to sleep in the front yard underneath this big tree. And I didn't have a sleeping bag; he did. So my aunt gave me some blankets and stuff, and I slept on those. And we were in this little tent, and I woke up because I was cold, and I noticed my cousin was gone, and I thought, oh, okay, well maybe you just want to go inside. I'll get this his sleeping bag. So I did. I unzipped it and stuck my legs in there, and he was a bedwetter. And I stuck my 2 legs in there and figured out that it was kind of wet in there. And then I was disgusted and decided I'd go inside. So I had to go with it. It was a big old farmhouse, and they really didn't lock. I found out they didn't lock the doors. I could have just walked in, but I had to go around the back and down through the root cellar and up through this dark area in the dark, and to get to my room that I usually stayed at. But uh, I enjoy sleeping. I think everybody does. Uh, I see people that are really tired, uh, flight attendants and stuff. I don't know how they do that kind of thing. And people that work at night. I've always predicted, and this has kind of come true. Years ago, I predicted that there would be 2 societies in our world: people that work and live at night, and people that work and live during the day. Now, how do you decide that? Well, you choose yourself. And here's the deal: if you choose to live at night, when you go to the grocery store, things are a little bit cheaper. When you go to get gas, things are a little bit cheaper. If you work at night, you get paid a little bit more. So I think eventually, with the crowding that's going on, and I think this is already kind of happening. And I know there's people that are, security guards and people that work the night shifts in factories. Factories never close down. They figure, we got the factory. Why close it down? Let's keep it running 24 hours a day. And people always say, "Oh, I have the late shift." And people that go to work at 10 o'clock at night and get off at 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't know how they adjust to that. Like disc jockeys and people working in factories. And one thing, um, at one point in my life, I was lucky enough to date Jenny Jones. She was a stand-up comedian that no one knew for a while. We didn't go out for very long. In fact, she told me when I asked her out, she was a beautiful girl, way above my pay scale. Um, But I asked her out, and she said, "I don't go out with other comedians." But she said, "But for you, I'll make an exception." And I felt flattered. And this is when she had her big fluffy hair. This is before the talk show, and she worked for Wayne Newton. She was like a backup singer for a long time, and she worked in Vegas. And she told me something that I'll never forget. She said to me, "Nobody comes home from work and goes right to bed." And I
Right.
remember that. I said,
Right. You got to
"You know,
wind
you're
down.
right. You're right. You got to wind down no matter what time it is." So she says, if you get off at 2 o'clock in the morning, nobody just goes, "Oh, okay, I'm going to go home." And they go home and they take a shower or whatever, hop into bed. No, you got to go home. You got to have a little drink, maybe eat something, maybe smoke something, watch a little TV, whatever. But nobody gets off work and goes right home and goes to sleep. So I don't know how people handle that. I know people who have lived the nightlife style for a long time, but they're out of sync with most society. And I imagine that's a hard thing to do.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's about all I have to say about sleeping. I hope everybody, if you're watching this at night, I hope you go to bed and sleep well tonight. How do you sleep, Paul? You sleep pretty good?
No.
Ah,
My watch likes to tell me all the time you got a low sleep score.
oh, really?
I have a smartwatch that tells me, but it's very nice to me too. It will vibrate my hand in the morning and say, "Hey, you made it through another one. Congratulations."
Oh,
And so, yeah, and it will tell me. At first, it started really easy or very helpful. It would tell me things like stand up, take a walk, get hydrated. Now it tells me I don't get enough. I don't get enough sleep. I don't have enough
good
money in
sleep.
my bank. Yeah, all the other stuff. So
So basically, you have a heckler on your wrist.
I have a heckler on my wrist.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, I had sleep apnea. I got off track there. I digressed. I had sleep apnea, and my wife told me about it, and I and you can die from that.
Oh
In
yeah.
fact, they think John Candy died from sleeping. And if you have a lot of weight on at the time, I was heavier than I am now, but that contributes to it. And so I took a sleep test, and they hook you up to all these things, and it's amazing that you can even sleep. I had to stay in this one place overnight with all these cables hooked up, and they said that I stopped breathing like 20 times during the night, and they said that's not good. So I had to go in. It was one of the worst 2 months of my life. I had to go in and get. First of all, I had never had my tonsils taken out when I was a kid. So they said, we're going to take out your tonsils. We're going to like laser your throat to kind of tighten it up so it doesn't wiggle around.
Wow.
And then we're going to go up, and I guess I had a deviated septum. I wasn't
Really?
breathing all that great anyway. So they went up into my nose and roto-rooted my nose. So I had like 3 procedures done at one time, and I was miserable for like, I think, 2 months. Every time I had, you know how many times you swallow a day? Hundreds. And every time I'd want to swallow something, or just swallow, I'd have to go because it hurt so much. And they gave me some sort of deadening, some sort of cane, hydrocaine or
The
something
spray in
cane.
the back of your throat so it would numb
Yes,
it.
the,
Right.
the
Right.
spray in the back, and I lived off of this shit.
Uh,
I was in. I remember one time after about a month, I was in the kitchen table one time. I was actually crying because I was so tired of the pain. Eventually, it went over, went away. And now I don't. I still snore, but not nearly as badly, and I don't stop breathing. That's the important part. Is that
right. And then you
you
don't have
get
to
good
use the
quality sleep.
CPAP machine like I do. So that's good.
Oh no! Well, you use a CPAP?
Yep. Because I
Do you
snore and
have?
I have sleep apnea. So
Well, I could not stand. They gave me a CPAP, and I couldn't handle it. I
Yeah,
couldn't.
no, I don't like it.
I could not handle the thing attached to my face because I roll over and I'm very active when I sleep. I roll this way, I roll that way, and I could not live with the CPAP. It just was out.
Right.
So I decided to do the operation, and they did it, and I was in pain for 2 months. Um, but now I'm fine. I don't stop breathing. That's good.
Oh yeah.
Um, what kind of time we at there?
We
Oh,
are at 35 minutes in, sir.
oh, 35. So, I was thinking I was coming up short. Well, that even proves that I can talk about stuff more than I thought.
There you go. Even sleeping. There you go.
Yes. So I want to remind everybody, please like and share and subscribe. We haven't got as many subscribers as I'd like to have, but like and subscribe. It helps the analytics. Tell your friends about the Kirchenbauer Haffenhauer. You can find us in all these little places over here he's putting up there. And come back and watch us next time. We have something interesting every time here on the Kirchenbauer Haffenhauer. So from Paul Brumbaugh and myself, Bill Kirchenbauer, take care.